Hello again, I'm Ray from the Radio Workshop with more memories of naughty times, pirating times, this time with a 19 set. I know I've mentioned all this before, but one or two things have come to mind recently. So I just thought I'd just make a very short video about one or two things that I thought might be of interest. The CCF, Combined Cadet Force frequencies, so anyone that had a 19 set knew that on 5.33 megs there was Delta Oscar, there was Whiskey Lima, Tango Golf on other frequencies, Echo Charlie, of course, the pirate thing on 6.6 megs, which is still going today. But funnily enough, I was just repairing a radio for someone and it just came back to me. Someone mentioned, I was listening to the radio, mentioned Army Cadets, and I thought, oh yeah, CCF, and this just came back to me. What happened was you get a station. I'll get a pen, hang on, because I'm going to get mixed up. We'll get 16 Alpha, we'll say, okay? He'd say Delta Oscar, Delta Oscar, Delta Oscar. This is 16 Alpha, hello all stations, Delta Oscar, radio check, over. Then a station would go back to him, 16 Alpha, we'll say this is 4 Alpha. Okay, over. And he'd say 4 Alpha, this is 16 Alpha, you're also okay and on net. Right, so he's joined the net. Then someone else would join the net, 16 Alpha, this is say 27 Bravo. You're okay, and blah blah blah. What happened was, now I'm not saying it was me. don't start me off. What happened was, you had the net 16 Alpha, 4 Alpha, and 27 Bravo. 16 Alpha is the net controller. He's in charge. Then he'd say, right, any other station, wanted to join the net, okay, any other station, this is 16 Alpha, radio check, over. Someone came on and said, 16 Alpha, this is 4 Alpha, okay, over. So he said, 4 Alpha, you're already on the net, out to you, any other station, blah, blah, blah. And 4 Alpha would come back and say, no, 16 Alpha, this is 4 Alpha, I've only just turned the radio on, I'm not on the net already. So then 16 Alpha is thinking, I've got 2 4 Alphas here. And then the other 4 Alpha would pop up and say, 16 Alpha, this is 4 Alpha. The 4 Alpha trying to join is, not authorised to operate on this frequency. Close him down. Then the other 4 Alpha, I remember all this. I don't remember it verbatim, of course, but I'm telling you roughly what happened. The other 4 Alpha came on. This is 4 Alpha. So you've got 2 4 Alphas on the net. Now bear in mind these were, the people at 16 Alpha, this was a schoolboy thing at the various boarding schools and whatever, colleges and things. So, he's not an adult. And he was obviously getting a bit flustered. He's got 2 4 Alphas on there. So those of you that remember this will remember the authentication codes. So he said, 4 Alpha, this is 6 Alpha, authenticate 2 1. Then both 4 Alphas come on together. And you can't hear either one because they're chatting on top of each other. So anyway, he 16 Alpha would eventually get it to, right, this 4 Alpha here, authenticate. And he'd authenticate correctly. So 16 Alpha then tells the other 4 Alpha, you're not authorised to operate on this frequency, close down now, out to you. So that 4 Alpha comes back, no, ask me to authenticate, I am 4 Alpha. So he asked him to authenticate. He got it correct. Now in the rules you're not allowed to ask someone, I think is it only 3 times or something? He asked each one 3 times, they got it right 3 times. Of course 27 Bravo is on the side, he pops up, so you can't ask any more to authenticate, you've got to let them both on the net. Well, one's a pirate, obviously, one shouldn't be on. This is going on and on. And what happens next, you get the 2 4 Alphas arguing together. 16 Alpha and 27 Bravo are left out of this. The 2 4 Alphas are having a go at each other. You've probably guessed by now that both these 4 Alpha stations are pirates, right? And they've got a copy of the authentication code. Every month every school was, every CCF school, was sent a copy of this month's authentication code. Bit of paper, basically. You look down there. If he says authenticate 2, you look down there for 2, 1 along the top. Where they meet in the square, you give the answer. 6, 7, for example. Now that's how that worked. And there were copies of the authentication code around. So both 4 alphas have got the authentication codes, and they're both pirates. Okay, so they're kind of having a go at each other, and eventually 1/6 alpha came back. He got in charge again. I remember this, and he said something about, we cannot have 2 4 alphas on here. So someone came up and said, there isn't 2 4 alpha on here. 2 4 alpha isn't on the net. And he said, no, I'm saying we've got 2 4 alphas. And then this chap came up and said, yeah, this is 2 4 alpha, over. And the 1/6 alpha chap saying, no. He said, yeah, okay to you, you're on okay and on net, but I'm saying we cannot have 2 4 alphas. And 2 4 alphas coming on, because he was a pirate as well. And he said, but why can't I join the net? Why are you saying I can't join the net? And there's this conflict starts up here. So you've got both 4 alphas arguing with each other and the net controller. You've got 2 4 alpha who's thinking, he's a pirate anyway, who's making out that he's thinking the net controller won't let him on the net. This other chap, who was E27 Bravo, he just keeps quiet now. In fact, this went on for 20 minutes, something like that, half an hour possibly. A friend of mine from Southampton, he rang and he said, are you listening on Delta Oscar? I said, yes I am. It's fantastic. Another mate of mine from Lancing rang, you on Delta Oscar? Yes, I'm listening to it. In fact, one of my friends recorded it. I just wish I had a copy of that recording. Oh, if I had that now, all these decades later, that would have been fantastic to listen to that. He actually recorded the thing. So what happened was, 1/6 alpha, he's trying to control the net. He disappeared in the end. He just closed down. Various other stations joined in, legitimate stations joined in and tried to sort this out. It was obvious that at least one of the 4 alphas was legally operating, if not both. But they were authenticating correctly, so what could you do? In the end, I think it all sort of faded out, and but it lasted. It must have been half an hour, and it was, all right. It was naughty, but I mean there was no harm done. It was just great fun listening to it. It was just absolute brilliant fun listening to this. I remember, being in my shack, as we call it, in my shed down the garden at my parents' house. This was where I lived, obviously, because I'm only sort of 16 years old myself. And I just tears. I was laughing my head off. I creased up with all this stuff going on. It was absolutely fantastic. There was another time, I think I told you, one pirate used to call himself 2.5. Well, obviously you can't have a call sign 2.5. You can have 4 Alpha, 5 Bravo, 6 Charlie, 1 7 Bravo, or whatever. But 2.5, no, it just doesn't work. Anyway, he called in, let's say it was 1/6 Alpha again, saying, this is 1/6 Alpha, all stations Delta Oscar, this is 1/6 Alpha, radio check, over. And this chap said, 1/6 Alpha, this is 2.5, you are okay, over. So 1/6 Alpha says something like, no, you're not authorised to operate on this frequency, closed down now, out to you. So any other station, blah, blah, blah. So off we go again. 1/6 Alpha, this is 2.5. I am a legitimate station. So 1/6 Alpha says, no, this is the mistake they used to make. They would engage in the conversation. It's best just to ignore them. But obviously it's a pirate, 2.5. Come on. So anyway, he said, no, sorry, there's no such call sign. So 2.5 said, look, ask me to authenticate. He was obviously a pirate. He had, well, I know he was, because I know who he was. He was one of the 4 alphas. Anyway, that's another story. So he authenticated correctly. 1/6 Alpha is saying, no, you can't, there is no such call sign. So 2.5 said, You obviously haven't, yeah, because that's right. 16 Alpha said you're not in the net directory. There was pages and pages of call signs and all the schools and the addresses and everything. And he said, look, you're not in the net directory. There's no 2.5 in there. You're not a legitimate station. And he said, you obviously haven't got this is 2.5. You haven't got the new net directory. They've introduced a lot of new call signs. The new directory has just come out. And I am in the new directory. Of course, now 16 Alpha is thinking, I haven't heard this. He must have been thinking, he said, well, no, I haven't got a new directory. And they wouldn't have call signs like 2.5. See, again, he's engaging and getting involved, which he shouldn't have done. He was the legitimate station. So 2.5 is sort of convincing him that this is a legitimate call sign. And I remember him saying that they've introduced several, like 3.5, 4.5. And he said one that I thought, this is going to blow it. He said there's also 7 3/4. And I thought, that's it. The 16 Alpha is going to say, oh, get out of here. Go on, get out of it. But 16 Alpha said, oh, I see. I haven't had the new net directory, so I'll wait. I'll look forward to that. Wait for that to arrive, and I'll go through it. And he allowed 2.5 on the net. Call sign 2.5. I mean, dear me. Of course, I'm laughing my head off, and I imagined all the hundreds of other pirates around the country all listening to this, laughing their heads off. And of course, 1 or 2 people started joining in, and 16 Alpha, this is 4 1/3, over. And there's more and more people joining in with these call signs. Hello, this is 5 2/1000, over. This is 3 5/8. It's going on and on and on. And in the end, 16 Alpha, oh dear, it's funny. It happened decades ago, but it just still makes me laugh so much. If ever I feel a bit sort of fed up, it's raining and this and that, I just think of the old days on the radio on the 19 set, and within a few minutes I'm laughing my head off again. So yes, I don't know what happened in the end to that one, but 16 Alpha obviously realised he'd been duped. Of course there was no new net directory with these weird call signs in. Happy days indeed. As I said, I know it was naughty, but it was good fun, and it wasn't, these were on a spot frequency, 5330 kilohertz. Schoolboys, with their setups, their 19 sets and whatever else they had. And okay, things were always going wrong anyway. They were learning. It wasn't like this was top secret MOD stuff, defence stuff and all that. It was not secret at all, so no harm was being done. Perhaps only to the legitimate operators' morale perhaps was suffered a bit. So it was good fun. It was obviously illegal, but it was good fun. I do remember just one more thing before I move on. Well, say it was 16 Alpha again, and he's the net controller. I mean, there were, anyone could be the net controller, whoever got on the frequency first. Blank frequency, someone comes on, there's no one there, so he starts calling, see if there are any stations around. So this chap called in, and they started talking. They're chatting to each other. 1 or 2 other people joined, and then one of the people, obviously a pirate again, he said, 16 Alpha, let's say it was 5 Charlie. 16 Alpha, this is 5 Charlie. Your aerial insulator is on fire. Over. So 16 Alpha said, 5 Charlie, this is 16 Alpha. Roger, thanks for that. 16 Alpha out, and he disappeared. He obviously went out to look at the aerial, all right, at the insulator one end. Anyway, he came back. He probably hadn't got that far. He probably realised before he got to the door. He came back on, and he said, rather than just ignore it, he said, that you obviously can't see the aerial. You're hundreds of miles away, or whatever he said. I can't remember exactly, but so that's that, out to you. And then a little bit later, and this did get him. Someone else said, 16 Alpha. This is let's say 7 Bravo. There's smoke coming from your transmitter. Urgent message. Smoke coming from your transmitter, over. So 16 Alpha said, oh, Roger, thank you, I can't see it, I'm looking, I can't see anything. Where is the... And then he sort of went quiet, he realised he'd been had. The poor chap, do you know, over all the years I used to listen to the CCF, he was there, I don't know how long, but he persevered. He went through all this. I'm not even sure his call sign was 16 Alpha, might have been 16 Bravo, it was something like that. And the poor chap persevered over all the time he was at that school. You know, almost every time, it was lunch times they went on, and then afternoons. I think school finished about 3 o'clock and they'd go on, and weekends, of course, boarding school. Sundays was a really good time. They're always on Sunday mornings, and he persevered, that poor chap. You know, I'd love to meet him. Just just one more thing, I promise you. I've got a cup of tea now, look, mustn't spill that. Just one more thing, one of my favourites. I'll say it was me. It wasn't me, of course. It wasn't me. But I'll say it was me because it'd be easier to tell. So I went on, I'm listening on Delta Oscar, okay. There's no one there, the frequency's quiet. So I make a call. Delta Oscar, Delta Oscar, Delta Oscar, Delta Oscar, blah, blah, blah. Hello, all stations, Delta Oscar. This is 4 Alpha, radio check, over. Now, chap calls in, we'll say he's 24 Alpha, okay. 4 Alpha, this is 24 Alpha, okay, over. It's strong signal, so I ignore him. And I say, hello, 7 Charlie, you are also okay and on net, out to you. Hello, any other station, Delta Oscar, this is 4 Alpha, radio check, over. 24 Alpha calls in again, strong signal, I ignore him. Hello, 8 Charlie, you're also okay and on net, blah, blah, blah. I've got a net, right? 7 Charlie, 8 Charlie and me. And I've ignored 24 Alpha. Now bear in mind that 7 Charlie and 8 Charlie don't exist. There's only 24 Alpha and me. So I say 7 Charlie, send, over. So it goes quiet. 24 Alpha's gone quiet. He's obviously listening. Oh, I can't hear it. I can't hear 7 Charlie. You know. So I eventually come back. Yes, 7 Charlie, Roger. Okay on your aerial. Yes, it sounds very good. The aerial we're using here is a dipole cut for this frequency, blah, blah, blah. And then 8 Charlie, send, over. So it goes quiet. And 24 Alpha's obviously thinking, I can't hear anything. I can only hear 4 Alpha. Where's these other blokes? I only hear 4 Alpha. So eventually, you know, let a little gap long enough, and then say, yeah, 8 Charlie, this is 4 Alpha, Roger, out to you. Hello, any other station? You know, we go on like this, having a chat. I'm chatting with 2 non-existent stations, and I'm ignoring 24 Alpha, who's getting frustrated and wondering something's gone wrong. So another station called into the net. We'll call him 6 Bravo, and he said to 24 Alpha, he said, oh, 4 Alpha's had you over. You know, he said, there are no other stations. So 24 Alpha went back to him. He said, oh, I can hear you and you can hear me. Oh, that's all right. So I then butted in. I said, look, I can't hear 24 Alpha. I said, but 6 Bravo, I can hear you. I said, I don't know what's happened to 24 Alpha, but I'm hearing you, 7 Charlie and 8 Charlie. Anyway, eventually I convinced 6 Bravo that 7 Charlie and 8 Charlie were there. They did exist. And they couldn't hear 24 Alpha and he couldn't hear them. I can't hear 24 Alpha. And it all gets confusing like this. And in the end, there's all this is going on. I said, look, I've got to go to a lesson. Now that always helps put something like that in, because I'm a schoolboy at a boarding school. I've got a lesson, I've got to go. So that makes me more genuine, you see. So I said, 6 Bravo, can you take over as net controller, because I have to go to a lesson, which he did. He took over. He's talking then to 24 Alpha, and he said after a while, we better perhaps bring in 7 Charlie. He said, 7 Charlie, although I can't hear you, you know, come on, we'll have another listen. So, you know, he left it a little while, it's all just quiet. And he said, well, I didn't hear anything. He said, well, let's go to 8 Charlie. Of course, it's all quiet again. And then between them, they decided that I'd had them both over. The whole thing was a big con. But, oh dear, good fun. Well, one of my favourites was when there's a net running, someone would go in, cause an argument, right? And then leave the net and just sit back and listen to the argument as it carried on. I was actually in touch with one of these school kids. I say kids, same age as me, 16. I was 16. I won't tell you how it came about, but I got in touch with him. I won't say where he lived or anything, or where the school was, but it was a couple of 100 miles away. And his transmitter on the CCF frequency on Delta Oscar had a distinctive sort of zzz whenever he came on the air. So you knew it was him as soon as he pressed the switched the transmitter on. There was this sort of zzz noise like that. Then he'd say, "Hello, this is so and so." I won't use his call. I remember his call. Well, say his call was, I don't know, 6 Charlie. So it'd be zzz, "This is 6 Charlie," and I heard him on the Echo Charlie on 6.6 megs. He had gone there. And he's made up some call sign and he was chatting away to people. But whenever he switched the transmitter on, zzz, I knew it was him. I knew it was, the CCF lad. And we were in sort of correspondence through the post. And I wrote to him and I said, don't go on Echo Charlie, because you have this problem with your transmitter. So he rang me. First time we'd actually spoken, it was only through the post before. And he said, guess what? What happened? He said the GPO had been to the school. So I said, oh no, what about you? And he said, yeah, because I've been on Echo Charlie. They'd obviously sussed who it was by this bzzz noise. And I said, well, what happened? He said, well, they spoke to the headmaster and they said either they could deal with me or leave it to the headmaster to deal with me. He said, I got the cane for going on Echo Charlie. He got caned for pirating on 6.6 megs. Oh dear. So he said, I said, well, don't do that again. And I remember he said, I will. I'm going to sort the transmitter out. He said, because Echo Charlie is much more fun than Delta Oscar. In fact, I do remember a lot of the CCF lads used to go on to Echo Charlie. I recognise some of the voices. I was listening on CCF frequencies most of the time. Every time I was, I was not at work. I got home from work or weekends or whatever, have a half day from work. I was in the shed listening on Delta Oscar or Echo Charlie. So, a lot of the lads did go on there. He got the cane for pirating. Happy days. It's... I wish I'd kept in touch with him. I was in touch with another chap. I won't say where he was, but he wrote to me as well. We're writing to each other. But the first one I mentioned, he was the one that used to send me every month in the post the latest authentication code, right? And the net directory. I actually had a net directory, all the call signs and all the schools, the addresses, everything. It was great. So anyone that came on, I could think, oh, that's say 17 Charlie. I'd look him up. 17 Charlie. Oh yeah, so and so school, wherever, I don't know, Cheshire or London or Devon or wherever it was. It was really good. I just wish I'd kept all this stuff, especially the net directory. I think we'll end the video here. It's coming up to 25 minutes. I've got loads more incidents and recollections of things about the CCF and Delta Oscar, Tango, Golf, all that is great. Echo Charlie. But the video will get too long. Everyone will be dozing off or going up the pub, drive you all to drink. Oh, talking of which, it's Friday afternoon. Hello, the sun's over the yard arm. Do I feel a pint coming on? I think I do. Thanks for watching as always. And thanks, by the way, oh dear, it's funny, isn't it? For all your feedback and comments. It's great. I enjoy making these videos. It seems as much as you enjoy watching them. So yeah, it's great. Thanks a lot. See you all again soon. Bye for now.